Hello and welcome to the Infectious Group Podcast, part of the Odd Pods Media Network. Recorded at the 33 1/3 Music Appreciation Center in Speakeasy, located just outside of Detroit, Michigan. The Infectious Group Podcast is your source for jammy jams, music news, and the best in-depth music discussion. Thanks for joining us. Now here are your hosts.
Well, hello there. Today is a wonderful day because you have a new episode of Infectious Group Podcast coming your way. Michelle, what season are we on?
3.
3. That's correct. Yes, that's correct. If we were talking at this time 6 months ago. Season 4.
5.
So close. So close. We are going to have a fun discussion. And if you're a longtime listener to the show, you've heard us pull this maneuver before. We think this might be a two-parter. We'll let you know in about 50 or 60 minutes. But we think this might be a two-parter.
What if I have nothing to say about it?
You probably won't. So,
I bet she probably doesn't know who half the people are on the list.
there are going to be so many albums that she's going to be like, wait, they were a band that long
Should
ago?
I get to Crushing Candy?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
Yeah, if you could, please. Make sure your sound's off.
I need the sound. It's part of the whole experience.
Right. So what we're alluding to is that our topic is going to be the albums that came out in the year 1991, which was a ridiculous year for music. And I don't think many people realize that. Like when album anniversaries come up, a lot of people will just kind of be like, oh, wow, it's been, 10 years, 20 years or whatever since that came out. But like, this is one of those years where every couple of weeks you're like, holy crap, that album came out that year too.
Sure, I totally do that.
Yeah, I'm certain that you do.
I do that often.
Michelle, for the listeners, just so we know, how old were you in 1991?
4 and 5.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because your birthday's kind of right there in the middle of the year-ish. So that makes sense.
4 for the first half and 5 for the
Right.
second.
Okay. So when we get to the albums that came out when you were 5, let us know.
Okay, I will throw a flag.
Right. Yeah. I appreciate it. Yeah, because that's helpful to the listeners.
They'll be able to hear it.
Before we get into like our main topic of discussion is always in the first half of the show. We always do our jammy jams, but we start off with feedback, and I do have some feedback to share. However, I do want to say that Kyle and I had the world's coolest experience happen this past week, and I want to share it on the show. I went to see Guns N' Roses on Sunday night. Ended up having a way better time than I thought I would at the show. They typically come out of the gate very rocky at the top of their tours, and this was the third show of the tour, so I was like, this isn't going to be good. All that aside, it was fantastic. So Monday night, if you're a longtime listener to the show, you've heard us go on in detail about the Lone Bellow repeatedly. And Kyle finally got to go see his first Lone Bellow show. And without putting you on the spot, Kyle, what did you think of the Lone Bellow show?
Holy shit.
Yeah. So
amazing.
It's every bit as good as we're going on about
100%,
it.
yes.
Yeah. So we went to see them at this brewery on the west side of Michigan. So we drove a couple hours to get there, and we were sitting there having beers, and at the time, stranger came up and recognized me from our vinyl YouTube channel, which was awesome.
You're famous.
No. But the funnier thing was then when Kyle started talking, he voice recognized Kyle from the show and was like, wait, are you the Kyle from the Infectious Group Podcast? And we were like, yes, that is us. But it was one of those things you dream about. It was like, oh, I never miss an episode, like, and whatever. And he kind of was looking around to see if Michelle was there. Michelle was not there. And then he let us know that he's well aware of Michelle's opinions, which I thought was great. So anyways, Greg from the west side of Michigan, we greatly appreciate it. Literally made my whole day.
Hi, Greg.
And all week. And someday you're going to get to meet Michelle. It's not all it's cracked up to be, just so you know.
Apparently 2-month-old babies don't love concerts.
I still think you're wrong on that. I still think the jury's out on that.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, you never know. So anyways, that was awesome. If you do see any of us out in public, by all means come up and say something. Kyle and I will be nice to you, and then Michelle will be there too.
I just think you're an industry plant from Russ.
Right, yeah, absolutely. So anyways, having said that, let's get into the first segment, feedback.
Feedback, Joe.
Don't worry about that. Right. So rock and roll be without feedback.
Ooh, and I forgot that feedback this week is brought to you by Manscaped. We got a great new ad that you guys are going to love for sure. Attention, listeners across the galaxy. Our friends at Manscaped have cleared you for takeoff with their 4th generation brand new Lawnmower 4.0. Kick your pubes to the next planet with the Performance Package 4.0. The orbits in your pants will feel like they're in zero gravity when you use the best tools for the job with the leaders in male grooming. Join 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped to get your rocket ready for takeoff by going to manscaped.com and use our code GROOVE for 20% off and and free shipping. Ready for an out-of-this-world experience? Look no further than the Perfect Package 4.0 from Manscaped, which has just taken off not only in the USA, but Canada, the UK, across Europe, Australia, South Africa, and Singapore. Inside this package, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver ball toner, Performance Boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your whole solar system. Abort hairy balls and Buzz Lightyear that Woody with Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code GROOVE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with our code GROOVE at manscaped.com. For a clean Trinity and beyond, your Spaceballs will thank you. See,
Yes.
when I was recording that, I thought at first Michelle's going to be like, oh, this is hilarious. And then when I got to the end and they were making Toy Story references to junk, I thought you were going to be like, no.
It's offensive.
Yeah, this is offensive. So anyways, Manscaped bringing you our feedback this week, and our friends over at the Super Media Bros podcast, who, by the way, hit between their YouTube channel and their podcast, hit 140,000 listens today, which is awesome.
Damn.
We're coming up on 100 grand ourselves between YouTube and the podcast, which is awesome.
Not too shabby.
But like, it's one of those things where, and I very much mean our friends, like Richie's awesome. The crew over at Super Media Brothers are awesome. They're part of the Odd Pods family. Richie and I are always bouncing like suggestions and feedback off of each other. But I literally have been so excited about making that 100,000 post when it happens. And then Super Media Brothers is like 140. And I was like, damn it.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Wait. What did we talk about last week?
So they made reference to what you talked about last week, and it's funny that you say that because I was going to be like, I'm going to read the tweet, and then see if you have any idea what they're talking about. Kyle, I never do this to you. I'm going to ask you kindly to I want to see if she knows what they're talking about. Yo, Infectious Groove Pod, let Michelle know that the Transplants have been around for more than one album. They have 3 albums and 1 EP. Now, here's the question, Michelle. Do you have any idea who the Transplants are?
Yeah, Travis Barker's in the band.
Oh, my God. Hand to God, I thought there was no way she was going to remember that.
I know who the
That's
Transplants
impressive.
are.
So good news for you. They have 3 albums and an EP.
So exciting. We talked about Pink Floyd.
Wait. Wait. Hold on. Is this like an emotional thing? Like it was a scarring thing?
Yes.
Speaking of which, we have some feedback from Nick regarding Pink Floyd.
Jesus Christ.
And I want to remind Nick specifically, not that I love getting all this sort of detailed feedback, but you can also, instead of typing all this out, dial 313-364-9899. But Nick also, I've said this many times, Nick has an awesome vinyl channel called The Vinyl Den. And he's one of the few people that I can randomly have a conversation with about Pink Floyd and not feel like I have to like stop and be like, he doesn't know as much as I do. I'm just going to let you talk. Nick knows a lot about Pink Floyd. So
More than you?
There's
Should
no
we have Pink Floyd off?
Oh, well, let's have Nick on and we'll have a Pink Floyd off.
Okay.
You can do pick trivia questions and everything.
It's
We'll do
gonna
it
be like
game show
Jeopardy?
style.
Yep.
Yeah, it would be awesome.
You need buzzers?
Who is Roger Waters?
That's how easy the questions are going to be.
Yeah. So Nick comes out to say that he was glad to hear your opinion of the Pink Floyd album. He thinks A Momentary Lapse of Reason might be a better album, which is funny because it's the one I don't like nearly as much as the Division Bell, but it is more poppy and whatnot. So
Better for me.
I don't think any Pink Floyd album is going to be good for you.
I was about to say, we're too deep. So,
Yeah.
like, at what point?
Yeah.
You're just going to be like, oh, shit, you have to listen to all 14 of them.
Yeah. You're going to, okay, listen, I understand that 7 of them haven't worked yet, but I think isn't the phrase 8th time's the charm?
That is the phrase, yes.
Nick also went on into great detail about, and this is more for like this side of the table that enjoys Pink Floyd, but Nick went on into great detail about like what I was talking about, how the Division Bell just is instantly liked more by a lot of Pink Floyd fans because it's more of a Pink Floyd album. Like when they made A Momentary Lapse of Reason, and I'm using Dr. Evil quotes for they, David Gilmour played all his guitar parts and sang everything. Rick Wright didn't even play keys on the album, and Nick Mason like played the drums on the demos, and then a bunch of studio musicians came in and like replayed the drums on the album. So
Why?
in many ways it's a lot of it's legal stuff. Like I don't think Rick was legally allowed to play in Pink Floyd at that time. It's a whole thing. It's way more than you want to know
It
about
is a
Pink
whole
Floyd.
thing?
Yeah, it's way more than you want to know about
I already
Pink Floyd.
started shoe shopping in my head.
Right. So but Nick goes on in great detail about like when they went in to record the Division Bell, it was way more of a collaborative effort, which is why what I was saying last week about how like A Momentary Lapse of Reason is David Gilmour being like, well, how can I be like Roger? And then the next album is the 3 of them being like, well, let's just make music and call it Pink Floyd, and that'll be Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
You know. But anyways, he goes on about how it's easily the band's most cohesive album since Wish You Were Here in '75, which I totally agree with. Michelle, I assume, Michelle, you also concur.
Yeah.
Given your deep knowledge of Animals, The Wall, and The Final Cut, you would
And
say
in
that.
1975, I was totally born.
Right. Yeah. Oh, wait. How old were you in 1991 then? So he does, but what's funny is Nick says he agrees with me that it's a 7 out of 10, but he might go as low as 6 out of 10, which is interesting. I wouldn't have thought that. And then he commented some on the Endless River, the record that came after it, because I did have a lot of disparaging remarks regarding the Endless River. He said that he sees it more as a celebration of Rick Wright's career, which I agree with. I do agree with that. The Division Bell was such a great way to call it a day. And then they were like, oh, and here's it. Like, let me put it this way. You could call that album Pink Floyd. Oh, and here's this too. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not, it's not anywhere near a good enough artistic statement, in my opinion, to end your career with.
Maybe they're not done yet.
Yeah, I'm sure they're not done yet. I mean, only 2 of the 5 have passed away. So,
Okay, there's 3 left.
Yeah, we're still on a real good Pink Floyd percentage. Oh, and of the 3 that are left, 1 does absolutely not talk to the other 2.
Well, we're in a global pandemic, and so these are unprecedented times. So I feel like if they're going to get back together.
By the way, when are we going to get back to precedented times?
We're not.
It's never happening.
Some people are ruining it for the rest of us.
Oh boy. Do you have a second podcast you'd like to talk about that on?
Yeah, you can find me at...
As in absolutely not this one?
You can find me on my Facebook page.
And I know what people are thinking right now. If you're listening to this, you're thinking, but I don't hear enough about vaccines and the pandemic and everything. And so I really wish I could hear from it on here too. But nope, I'm putting a stop to that.
You don't know, they don't want to know my opinions? What
What
about DTE?
I don't think I want to know your opinions. Yes, everyone. Which, by the way, and again, Michelle, letting the listeners behind the curtain here, when you hear this, just know that you are hearing Michelle 3 days into a power outage right now. I don't want to be rude, but the hair's on a ponytail. She's way too shiny. So
I only have 1 pair of shorts that currently fit me, so they've seen better days.
Oh boy! Holy cow! We were going. Full disclosure, we were going to shoot a new YouTube video today and finally get Kyle and Michelle on the channel for obvious reasons. All joking aside, you're not going to shoot a YouTube video without proper preparation and having power for the last 3 days.
Shower.
But boy, I sure wish we had pushed ahead with it now, so we could be like, also, there's a companion piece, so you can see Michelle in her 1 pair of shorts that fits.
You know what? I caused the entire power outage so that I didn't have to do this today.
I absolutely would not put that past you. So
I will shit as soon as we leave here if the power comes back on.
I will put my entire plans for the rest of the day on hold just to make sure those videos happen.
You're like, okay, your straightener works out. Get to it.
Yeah, go get it. So anyways, we greatly appreciate the feedback, and there was quite a few comments across like music forums and stuff with people, and to be honest, a lot of it was like either people were totally on your guys' side, like, yeah, someone told me this is the album to try and I still didn't like it, or there was like pages and pages of like people going on with pages about what I was saying, like they finally tried and that's how it sounds better and that type of thing. So anyways, you can always leave feedback for us on our social medias, and outside of that, Nick, you can call our hotline. I could. I would love it. I just love hearing the voicemails. Those are fun.
You like hearing Nick's voice.
And then there's Seth, who you guys had a truce and now it's over. So if you guys just want to go on like Twitter and start poking the bear, see if we can get some more voicemails from Seth. Yeah, that'd be great. So anyways, moving right along. Our jammies. My jammy jams for this week have been a couple of different things that are completely different but fun, though. One is, I don't know why, but I got on a huge kick of the Monkees in the past like 2 weeks. And I mean, I shouldn't say I don't know why. I mean, they're awesome songs. And the Monkees have a ton of material that you don't hear, like a lot of deeper cuts that were really, really good, that were written by either Peter Tork or Mike Nesmith. Mike Nesmith did like the bulk of it. But it's all like really good stuff. And for a band that started out in every way as a music industry thing, that was just, they literally were like, well, let's get us a Beatles and give them a TV show, right? And they just happened to luck into like Mickey Dolenz and Davy Jones were very much actors and not at all musicians. And both of them became like very good at what they did years later. And Peter Tork and Mike Nesmith brought legitimacy to it because they came into it as accomplished musicians. So the whole thing more or less got blown up in a very short period of time because, and it's kind of echoed in some of the themes in the movie, That Thing You Do, where it's,
that's a good movie.
That's a great movie where Jimmy is basically like the real musician who wants to do, and the record label's like, no, you're going to do things this way. That's more or less what happened with the Monkees, where they were like, okay, well, there's the door. So the 4 of them over the years got together in various versions, sometimes all 3 of them, sometimes all 4, and whatever else, but they never had an official live album. And now 2 of them have passed away, Peter Tork and Davy Jones. So Mike Nesmith and Mickey Dolenz did a tour year before last where they had basically like them and all their kids and family members and stuff being the backing band. And they did the tour specifically to record an official live Monkees album finally. You know, like on behalf of all 4 of them. And it's really, really good. Like it's really, really, really good. I got the double LP off of Amazon for $15. I just took a shot and was like, well, worst case scenario.
I missed it. Did you say this is a new release?
Yeah, it came out. The live album came out in 2020.
Okay.
So, and I just was like, well, for $15, worst case scenario, I listen to this and I'm like, oh, just listen to the original Monkees because that's not good, you know? And it's just really good. Like they cover a Noel Gallagher song in the middle of it. And then it's set up the way you think it would be. It's Last Train to Clarksville for the opener, I'm a Believer for the closer, and then the hits are, dispersed throughout. But anyways, it's fantastic. And then the other thing, I don't know too much about this artist, so I'm not going to go into great detail, but on Monday night when we saw the Lone Bellow, a country fella named Early James opened for the Lone Bellow. And we didn't get to take too much of him in that night, but like what we could hear from inside the brewery, we were like, yeah, that guy's, like real old Hank Sr. type country. And I listened to a bunch of his stuff on Spotify over the past week, and there was nothing I skipped. Let me put it that way. There was nothing that came out that I was like, oh boy, not this.
We've seen some stinker openers for them.
For sure, I detailed that for.
Yeah, we talked about that.
And I gave Brian the business again about not telling us Anderson East was awesome, and he was like, "Man, we should get more openers like that." And I was like, "You should get more openers like that."
Yeah.
But anyways, that was the whole conversation before the show was hilarious. We met a very nice door guy before the show.
I heard.
Yeah. So anyways, those are my Jammy Jams. Kyle, what have you been listening to? Still no Kanye, by the way, right?
Oh, man, I gave up.
Yeah.
I have given up, and I'm not even. It's going to happen, and when it happens, I'll be excited. I'm not going to.
I kid you not, and I know I always make reference to GNR, but it's relevant. Yeah. Like a month ago, I made a very long post on a GNR board where I was like, I finally, after 20 years, I finally reached that point with GNR. Like, when it happens, it happens. Yes. I'm done waiting for this. And then they surprise released a single. So maybe.
Wait, so you have 20 years of this to look forward to.
Yep.
Shit.
Well, the way I look at it is I would rather him not rush it and not put out something that he's not comfortable with.
Careful. They told Axl that. And
he was still staying at the stadium?
There has been a rumor that he's moved to a different stadium now.
Oh, right on.
My bad for the Kanye distraction.
Yeah, I hope it comes out soon, but I'm not too worried about it. But Black Bear did release a new. Well, I thought it was going to be an album, but it's like 6 songs. So EP.
EP, Michelle.
Yeah.
Which is weird because it's extended play, which that's not very extended.
That's what she said.
That's why I get them confused.
Go on.
What are you doing, bitch?
So,
you have it too.
I can't do it for my own jokes.
You did it last week.
I was double checking to make sure that it was actually 6 songs. But yeah, it is. It's 6 songs, and it's very much of the Black Bear that you've been hearing on the radio, he's very good at making songs that are still the way that he used to sound, but then like for the radio.
Evolving or making it more popular.
And the whole album or the whole EP is like that.
What's it called?
Misery Lake.
Okay.
And I listened to the whole thing a couple times, and I like it. It's different than his old stuff, but I mean, he's evolving.
Yeah, which is how we like our artists. And so what else?
Speaking of evolving, The Killers.
Oh, okay. So I've heard very bad things about this record. Really? I haven't listened to it myself yet.
So
on a scale of 1 to Kings of Leon's latest record.
Oh no, it's not. So I actually had to go back and listen to a bunch of other Killer stuff to be like, this is way different than their other stuff, right? Okay. And yes, it is.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like Bruce Springsteen wrote the entire record.
Which Bruce Springsteen, 80s or 90s? Does it sound like Glory Days or Streets of Philadelphia?
Ooh, like Glory Days, kind of.
Oh, I'll take that. Wait, I bet I'm going to like this. You guys are.
So it's just not the Killers that we've grown to love.
Yeah, think of if Bruce Springsteen... It sounds like The Killers, but it's written like a Bruce Springsteen song, but it's more like acoustic-y.
Okay.
And it's really, really like... It appears to be like religious based.
Oh,
like
Brandon Flowers is a religious cat.
Based on the album artwork, and then there's like a bunch of interludes in between the songs, which I think fit well on the record, but like it's very strange.
So Michelle's mad about those.
She's only listened to 2 songs off of it so far.
So do you think it'll grow on you, or you won't even bother revisiting it?
So I told her in the car, I said, if you're going to make an album that is this different than a Killers album, you should just be a different
Like have it
band.
be his third
like
solo
a side
album.
project or
Yeah.
something.
'Cause his first solo album is good. Brandon Flowers is good. His second one is a masterpiece.
Okay,
like,
yeah.
I think his second solo record is better than anything the Killers ever put out, except for the song "All These Things That I've Done," which Brandon Flowers will never top. I don't care what band he's in or what album it's on. That is the best song the Killers will ever do. Outside of that one song, everything on his second solo record is better than anything the Killers have ever done.
This is. It should have been, in my opinion, like a side project, and then people wouldn't get confused and be expecting Killer songs.
Yeah,
because it is not.
Do you think it's kind of like the growth with Mumford, though? Like, they went from more like a real hard folksy to like a, what would you call what they're now? Like a rock folksy?
Pink Floyd-ish.
Yeah, no?
I don't know. It's so... Like, if I go back and listen to Mr. Brightside and then, like, put on any song from this album, it's a completely different band.
Well, it's also like 6 albums later.
Yeah, that's true.
And the Killers ain't the Killers no more. It's like Brandon Flowers and a rotating cast of
Some other people.
Yeah.
There's that gentleman who has, I don't know if it's just a TikTok or YouTube, but he does that where he's like, let me write a song in the style of...
Yeah.
And they have a Killers one, and it sounds exactly like any Killers song ever. It sounds nothing like that, so I wonder...
They did the opposite.
They were like, oh, you think you got us figured out?
Well, hey, that could be too.
If you've heard bad things about it, you still should go listen to it, just
Give it a
so you
shot.
can be like, whoa, this is weird.
I guess I listened to 2 songs. I didn't hate it, but I was definitely like, what is this? Like, it's not... It was
Like,
kind of jarring.
you're like, oh, that's Brandon Flowers, but then you're like, what's happening?
It definitely sounds like Brandon
And
Flowers.
what is the name of the album?
Pressure Machine.
Okay. And it just kind of came out of nowhere. Like, not that I expect like a huge hype machine behind the Killers anymore, and that sounds rude to say, but I don't, expect a huge hype
When's the last
machine.
time they
But
had a
like, it
record
just
come
kind
out?
of like yesterday, it was Seth tweeted and was like, I don't know about this new Killers record. It's not all that great. And I was like, there's a new what?
Yeah.
Like I
They're
didn't
still
even
a
know.
band?
Yeah, kind of.
I literally, because of the power outage, was charging my phone in the car last night and just happened to look at Spotify, and it was on there, and I'm like, what the hell is this? So I listened to the entire thing straight through, charging my phone in the car.
Right on. So Kyle with the diversity, because I didn't mention it. So it's like a game with you two. Michelle, now I don't want to overexcite the listeners, but in all the chaos and excitement this week, I was informed right before airtime that Michelle has as many as one Jammy Jam to share with
Yeah, I
everyone.
wasn't about to use the electricity on my phone to just...
It was just
for
strictly a
Spotify.
TikTok device this week?
Yes.
Yeah,
What
that's
else do you
understandable.
think that I'm going to do?
To learn things like
To
Eric
learn?
Clapton, to learn Eric Clapton's British
Yep.
Which, speaking of TikTok, this song came inspired from TikTok.
music podcast, and she's like, I thought for sure, speaking of Clapton, but no, speaking of TikTok.
No, there was a guy who does country covers of other songs. And, so that got me. He covered a...
The Leprechaun guy?
Yes. Which I'm sure you didn't even listen to it.
I did.
All right, if you guys just want to take your fight off air, I want to relay down the ground rules: no COVID, no vaccine, and no fighting.
No
What about
Kanye.
Donald Trump?
No, thank you. Good Lord. I would like to mostly discuss music, so when Trump puts out an album about vaccines, then we will review the shit out
I
of
will
it.
show where I stand.
Yeah, we will review the shit out of that album. So, your song, your Jammy Jam.
Anyways, this guy did a country cover of a My Chem song called I Don't Love You, which made me realize how, I love that song. And it actually comes off the Black Parade, which I don't think you're a fan of, Russ.
I am not a fan of what was said about the album by the band before it came out, so other than the song
So that
Teenagers...
gives it a ding on the whole album?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Other than the song Teenagers, I've never listened to the rest of the Black Parade. And again, with the reference to That Thing You Do, I'm going to be over here playing the song Alone in My Principles, and I'm not going to listen to that album. Ever. I have their greatest hits because it has Teenagers.
Well, this is the album that Teenagers came from.
Okay. So someone else did a cover of it.
Yeah, and so then I was like, I forgot how much I love that song, which made me remember how much I do love this record, because you only ever hear...
Is this a dual Jammy Jam, like the cover and the original?
No, it's some guy, I can't...
We're just the original.
Well, I mean, I don't think I can get that...
He's not on Spotify.
This is a random person on TikTok releases music on Spotify, so we can put it on our playlist. But this whole record is great, and I know people know it for the Black Parade, and that's my least favorite song on the entire record. So I would recommend checking it out if anybody hasn't listened to it yet.
Sorry. I almost couldn't contain myself.
What?
I was going to say the Black Parade is what caused me to absolutely despise that band.
Yeah. Well, the way that was it Gerard Way?
Yeah.
Correct? Yeah. He went ahead
Not
and
Butler.
did an interview before the Black Parade came out and told anybody that would listen that it was going to be this generation's The Wall, which first of all, flag on that play. Second of all, he was like, well, I mean, it's like this generation's The Wall. And I was like, phew, he's going to recover. And he was like, but better. And I was like, and we're done.
So
The only reason I was even watching that interview was because it was on the red carpet for the VMAs where Axl Rose was supposed to be featured. Like they were like, and Axl Rose will be here. And then Axl Rose, the only thing he did the whole night was he walked out and introduced the Killers and then walked out. Like there was like no relevance for Axl to be there.
Well, I just want you to remember that I picked the album in a couple episodes. Do you want to keep going?
We need some sort of bow out system. Like some sort of
Oh, no. If I had to listen to Pink Floyd.
No one's ever
Twice.
said the phrase, I had to listen to Pink Floyd. No one's ever said, even Roger Waters, when the Division Bell came out, was like, oh, yeah, I'll take a listen. He wasn't like, oh, I have to listen to Pink Floyd. Like,
Somebody probably did force him.
You know what I learned by watching that TikTok that you sent to everybody?
What?
The one that you're referencing right now.
What did you learn?
I learned that I think that I might like that band if every song was sung in country version by that guy.
yeah, there you go.
Yes.
There you go.
So we should write him and ask him to record the
So
whole record?
Yes.
you're My Chemical Romance adjacent.
Yes.
Not when it's like I have a friend of mine who, and this is a whole other topic we don't need to get into, but he's not a Beatles fan at all, but he likes when other people cover the Beatles. So like anytime you play, so anytime you play any Beatles song for him, if it's someone else's version, he's like, oh, what a jam. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's the Beatles. He's like, oh, yeah, the original sucks. I'm like, okay. So anyways, speaking of a bunch of music that doesn't suck, when we come back, we are going to get into, the more I look at this list, this is definitely going to be a 2-part episode.
Yeah, there's a lot on there.
To say 1991 was a monster year in music would be an understatement. So we're going to get back, take a quick break, pay some bills, come back in a second. And when we get back, we are going to discuss the monster year that was 1991. You're listening to the Infectious Group podcast on the Odd Pods Media Network.
Hey, you there. We've got a question for you. Are you tired of clickbait stories and the loudest voices driving discussions in culture and entertainment?
If so, I'm Dylan.
I'm Kendall.
And I'm Corey. And we host the podcast From the Middle. We're middle-class guys living in the middle of America, in the middle chapters of our lives with points of view somewhere in the middle.
We take a more reasonable and centrist approach in our discussions covering genres like comedy, culture, entertainment, and interviews, with really interesting folks like business owners, comic creators, doctors, news anchors, New York Times best-selling illustrators, professional stand-up comics, and more. We really value a relaxed and conversational podcast, one that we hope is so fun and laid back, you'll forget you're not actually hanging out with us.
So search at From the Mid Pod, just like it sounds, or check us out everywhere you can find podcasts.
I'm Rob.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Joe.
I love it.
I think it's kind of meh.
And I've never seen it.
We're keeping up with the Kardashians.
A podcast covering 7 seasons of Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
But that's not it. We go down the wormhole
of pop culture, life, and Garrick.
New episodes every Monday.
On your favorite podcasting platforms. You can also interact with the show on Twitter at KardashiansPod.
And just like the Ferengi, we can't wait to stroke your lobes.
We are back. You are with Russ, Kyle, and Michelle in the Infectious Group podcast. And we did set this up as I kind of felt like, oh, well, there were some monster albums and it'll take us a while to talk about it. But the more I looked at this list, the more I was like, this is definitely going to be a 2-part episode because it was just such a monster year. And there's more to discuss about the year than just the albums that came out in the order that they came out in. One thing that I want to talk about with 1991 is what I feel is like a major fallacy. And you guys may even believe this because it's what's like taught in the media. And Michelle, up until the first half of 1991, you were how old?
4.
4. Okay. But since, so, and again, we always joke, Russ is old, but like I was very active in the music community by the time 1991 happened. So I remember.
How old are you?
91.
In the first half of the
16.
year.
It's 16 in the first half of the year. Or 15 in the first half of the year. So anyways, I very much remember 91 more like it happened than how the music press will tell you that it happened.
Oh yeah, I
So-
can see that for when I was 16. Like I can very much see.
Oh,
like,
yeah, for sure.
The music that influenced me.
So what's the biggest thing you hear about, and this is going to end up being a second half album that we discuss, I believe, but what's the thing you always hear about Nevermind by Nirvana coming out in 1991? What's the major impact? What's the major impact that it
Started
had on
grunge.
Right, started grunge and completely destroyed hair metal and everything that came before it, right?
Yeah.
Like we couldn't have any nice things after Nevermind got released because Nirvana showed up and just fired everybody else in the music industry. And that's so far from the truth. That's not at all what happened. And a lot of these huge iconic records that came out in 91 didn't even blow up until mid 92. Like, yeah, they were released in 91. The bands that are on this list that are icons like GNR, Metallica, Van Halen, bands like that, they had an amazing 91 ruling everything. And then those other albums were slow burns. Like people act like Nevermind came out and then just everyone never bought any other album other than Nevermind. And it's just not true. I know Nirvana was far more immediate than a lot of these other bands. Like Soundgarden really didn't get big until, mid 92 or whatever, bands like that. But Nirvana was a very immediate thing. But people act like the video for Smells Like Teen Spirit happened and then MTV became that 24 hours a day and no one listened to anything else. And it's just not true. And you see a huge amount of diversity in the first half of 1991 that again, everyone forgets. People now, if you're a longtime listener to the show and especially the vinyl channel, you know that like I'm a huge fan of what they call hair metal, right? Mm-hmm. So Warrant, Poison, Skids, Tesla, all that stuff, right? People act like that's all that was happening in music. Like it was all only Poison and Skid Row and everything else. But music was incredibly diverse at that time. That was a very prominent genre, but a lot of bands that blew up in 91 or later, the diversity was already swelling before all of a sudden. It wasn't like just Nirvana got through the wall and then all of a sudden everybody realized who R.E.M. was and so on. You know what I mean? So that's like a big, huge misunderstanding about 91. And when you look at even the first half of the year, the diversity is insane of what was released. And again, like the first album that I have, there's 2 albums released on January 29th. And they're both, I would assume most people would assume of these albums are from one-hit wonders. But the Divinals and Jesus Jones both put out their records on the 29th of January. Jesus Jones is one of those bands, again, one-hit wonder. Like, if I started playing the song right here, right now...
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you would be like,
I'm with you now.
And, like, that's not even remotely hair metal. There's, like, hip-hop beats in that. And
what was the other one?
The Divinals is I Touch Myself was their big hit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So... Now, the Divinals, again, I'm not calling them a one-hit wonder. They have like a rich history in underground rock. Mm-hmm. But again, they became mainstream in early January with the release of that record well before Nirvana was through the door. You know what I mean? And that video, right here, right now, and I Touch Myself were getting played right alongside Skid Row and GNR and everything else. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like, those albums didn't get any attention or artists that weren't hair metal weren't getting any attention. Like, right. And this is years into the B-52s getting a swelling. The Red Hot, people act like the Chili Peppers only became a thing in 91. The 3 albums they had before Blood Sugar Sex Magic were huge. Like, were like, not huge, not like mega like Blood Sugar Sex Magic was, but they were a well-known band. Mm-hmm. R.E.M. was the same way. People act like Out of Time was like the first record from them. They had a huge, It's the End of the World as We Know It and The One I Love are off of Document, which is 2 albums before Out of Time. And then Stand comes from Green, and Stand was a huge hit in like 87, 88. So it wasn't like all of a sudden R.E.M. was just like, oh, let's be an alternative because, it's a hard-working college band for 10 years.
Yeah.
So anyways, the year even kicks off making my point, that like there was diversity happening and there were huge hits from these bands that in no way sounded like quote unquote hair metal. Right. Then this one, you talk about a monster record and event in music to come out. February 4th, Queen goes ahead and lays Innuendo on us.
Innuendo.
There we go. As I was making my notes, I was like, she's going to say innuendo. So this album came out in February of 1991, and Freddie would go on to pass away in November of the same year. So this ends up being the final studio album from Queen. Albums they've put out since that they call Queen Records I do not recognize. So this is the final studio album from Queen. And if nothing else, I mean, besides I'm Going Slightly Mad in the title cut, which is, of course, Michelle, what's the
Innuendo.
title? Innuendo. The Show Must Go On is on this record. Come on.
Yep.
By the way, if you happen to be listening to a music podcast and you've never heard The Show Must Go On by Queen, if you need to be inspired, go right now and listen to The Show Must Go On
video.
by Queen. Oh, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So
I'd like to point out that Michelle just referenced someone watching a video, and they should go and do that.
Where would someone do that?
Yeah,
I think you have to go to your local library.
Go. You know, in all seriousness, go look up the microfiche.
I think it's HTTP
://
wwws.
Now, I don't know if this one will matter at all to either of you, but again, monster record and shows the diversity going on in the year. Amy Grant had her first mainstream album that year with Heart in Motion, with Every Heartbeat and Baby Baby were the big hits off of that. And you still hear Baby Baby in the supermarket and all that stuff. Yeah. And she had been a Christian contemporary artist
I was
up
going
to
to
that
ask
point.
if she was Christian. I couldn't remember if that was her.
And so this is her first pop record. And again, though, you know, it speaks to the diversity that was going on in music at the time. You know, I mean, that's like Paula Abdul, Belinda Carlisle level pop music, you know, and it was huge.
I think
huge.
I think that the people who complain about there not being diversity are the people who are just focusing on one genre of what's coming out.
For sure.
So back then there was way less ways to consume music, right? Mm-hmm. So like, if you're looking for hair metal, then you're going to think that that's what's...
Well, it's also the way it's sold in the media, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you're not us, you know, and you don't like dig into all this stuff all the time.
Right.
And you were just to Google, you know, like, oh, Nirvana, Nevermind. The first paragraph of every article that comes back is going to be like, and then Nirvana killed hair metal.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You know, and it's like, nope. Not, and that's not even true anyways. All the hair metal bands were, I mean, you look, I was just telling somebody this the other night. Poison were on the 1993 VMAs. Mm-hmm. So if Nirvana killed hair metal in 91, then who accidentally booked those bands for, you know, the VMAs 2 years later?
Yeah, I think part of it's because Nirvana like lives in like unicorn status in the music industry because of what happened. So like,
yeah, well, and Nevermind specifically.
Yeah, that album specifically. So it hangs over everything as being like this thing that gets mentioned constantly, even though it might not be the case.
And don't get me wrong, it was a gargantuan movement,
for sure.
You know, but like people, like you said, people just pedestal the hell out of it.
Yeah, it's automatically held up on a pedestal.
So moving into March, R.E.M. goes ahead and drops Out of Time. Now, again, this is a band who didn't all of a sudden come to be. They were very much doing their thing. And you'd like when in 88, when Poison was in their heyday and Every Rose Has Its Thorn was like #1 on the video countdowns, Stand by R.E.M. was like right there, you know.
What does R.E.M. stand for?
Rapid Eye Movement.
Oh, so actually what it stands for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That record alone, again, so Losing My Religion is the huge hit off of it. Shiny Happy People is on there as well. Mm-hmm. There's a lesser known single that was big at the time, but like no one remembers now. It's the first song on it is called Radio Song. And the whole song is about how like you should not pay attention to the mainstream media, you know? But KRS-One is on that track. And there's like rapping in an R.E.M. song. And it's awesome. It's one of those albums that because Radio Song is the first song on it, almost every single time you put that album on and the song starts, people are like, oh my God, I forgot about this song. Like, you know, no one remembers it.
Are these the Andy Kaufman people?
Yes, R.E.M. is the Andy Kaufman people.
Not Pearl Jam.
That is correct.
Is Pearl Jam on your list?
Pearl Jam had an album come out this year, yes.
Oh boy, so confusing.
I know. How dare they? So with that, like I say, you know, here's R.E.M. doing something huge and diverse in the very first 3 months of the year that nobody even thinks about anymore. Right. You know, I mean, Losing My Religion gets all the love in the world. People still remember that.
It's still on the radio, I feel like.
Oh, for sure. And then to answer your question, their first of 2 songs about Andy Kaufman, Man on the Moon, is on the album after Out of Time, Automatic for the People. And then years later, they wrote a way better song about Andy Kaufman called The Great Beyond.
Yeah.
That they wrote so they wrote the song The Great Beyond as the theme song for the movie Man on the Moon about Andy Kaufman, and the movie was titled Man on the Moon because of the song they wrote.
What in the hell?
And the second song they wrote about Andy Kaufman is way better than the one that everyone knows. So, but anyway, so with, again, you have all of this crazy diversity going on, and it's just already an amazing year. Like, before you even worry about some of the ridiculousness that we're about to talk about. The next big album out of the gate that year was, and we're still in March, by the way, so you're still 5, right, Michelle? Still 4. Still 4. Mr. Big, Lean Into It, which, come on now. Like, even if your knowledge of Mr. Big begins and ends with the song To Be With You.
Yep, that's it.
That's a great song. But again, there were other huge hits off the record. Green Tinted 69, Just Take My Heart was a big hit off of it. But like, far and away, To Be With You is the one everyone knows. And it's so funny because if you know anything about the members of Mr. Big, like Paul Gilbert, their guitar player, and Billy Sheehan, their bass player, are like internationally known as virtuosos. Like, they're just masters of their instrument. And then the song that they're known for is just like there's like 4 bass notes in To Be With You, you know? Whereas like Billy Sheehan is known for playing a double neck bass and sometimes both necks at the same time. And then the thing that he's most known for,
that's kind of funny.
You know, like just the world's easiest
catchy
bass
tune.
notes. It's an incredibly catchy tune. This one might not be huge to most people, but to me it's a big deal. Roxette's second record, Joyride, came out that year, which I love that song, Joyride. And I thought, I'm sorry?
Sing it.
No. She says, hello, you fool, I love you.
Yeah, okay.
Joyride by Roxette.
I was thinking of Slow Ride.
So, yeah, not the same. Roxette, Foghat, same thing.
That's why I need you to say it.
Exactly the same thing.
Did Foghat record come out that year?
Foghat did not come out with a record in 1991. But there was other stuff too, like Fading Like a Flower, and there was a couple other hits off of Joyride. But I really thought that they were going to like continue on an uphill climb, and pretty much all the music was like, no, we're good.
Yeah,
you know, like because the first record of theirs was just enormous with the look on it. Any wild clue what the name of their first album is?
The Look.
Yeah, well, you're 50% right. It was called Look Sharp. So after that comes the second Lenny Kravitz record, which to this day is my favorite Lenny Kravitz album still. Mama Said. That album is fire.
I don't Lenny Kravitz.
It has nothing you would know by him on it, I don't think. Well, you know, It Ain't Over Till It's Over.
No, for sure.
Okay, well, this is the album that's from. There's a monster song on the Mama Said album called Always on the Run with Slash on it, and it's probably my second favorite thing Slash has done outside of GNR.
I'm sure you've played it for me.
Oh, I'm certain, yeah. But like Fields of Joy, and it's just a really, really solid album. It's more from... It's like, you know, when artists are still working hard to like really be known for something.
Yeah.
That's okay. Let me put it this way. This is the album right before Are You Gonna Go My Way? So he still
Is he still making music now?
I think so.
I feel like everyone else that was out when he was out is like you still hear about them. A lot of these main acts.
Yeah.
You just never really hear anything about Lenny.
Well, Lenny does. I mean, these days he's dabbled in acting a little bit. He does a lot of endorsements and stuff. Like, you know how Janelle Monáe has no music that any of us know?
Yeah.
I know.
But
What
she's
is up
in
with
every
that?
commercial
Yeah.
ever. Okay, that's Lenny's like transitioned into that. Where
We're on a first name basis, by the way. With him.
Lenny and I,
Len?
Lenny and I go back. Yeah.
What I keep thinking of Lenny from Of Mice and Men.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Laverne and Shirley.
No.
Lenny and
Got the
Squiggy.
red.
But that Lenny Kravitz record was huge for me. Like, that was more or less for me. That was the first record of the year that I was like, "Oh shit, this is going to be a good year." You know,
So you had that when it came out.
Lenny's second album, yeah.
You were a fan of his before?
I liked his first record
Okay.
a lot. There were reviews for his first album that were like, "This is the second coming of Hendrix," and I was like, "Whoa, no, like this guy's good." And there were
I'm sorry,
a lot,
what was your review?
Well, and there was a lot of guys who, you know, because it's a black person with a guitar, and so a lot of people were like, "That's Prince-ish." No. Just because it's a black person holding a guitar doesn't make it like Prince, you know? So those two things I very much was like, no, this is not that at all. And then the third album's like, Mama Said, the second album is way different vibe than the first one. It's more rockin' in a lot of places, a lot more soulful with stuff like
I think those journalists that wrote those reviews back in the day now have had kids that write those same type of reviews.
Oh, for sure.
I just find the same type of...
Which, by the way, I've seen your repeated personal attacks on Pitchfork over the last couple of days.
Kyle needs a hobby.
So for anyone who uses social media, when your friends comment on things constantly, it'll like, even if you don't follow it, like I would never in 1 million years follow Pitchfork on, because I will sit angry and look at Pitchfork. So there's two things you follow on Facebook that I don't: Pitchfork and Vice. And so I'll be scrolling Facebook, minding my own business, you know, and it'll be like, and I'll be like, why is this Vice article? Oh, it's because Kyle's handing someone their ass about something or other. So I'm pretty sure that every time Pitchfork puts up a story, they're like, do you think this will get a lot of clicks? They're like, well, we know Kyle's going to hate it.
See, when they wrote the thing about Nas, and I went on there and I expected there to be a bunch of people arguing back and forth, and every single person in the comics was like, you're wrong. Like, this article's bullshit and you're wrong.
Wrong, wrong, wrong,
yes.
wrong, 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 wrong. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.
So that was a summary.
But that is what I was referencing about these people that now have grown up to then write the same kind of things that their parents wrote. Yeah.
Yeah, people who have no idea what they're talking about, trying to write from it. Well, you know, sidebar, but it's my two albums that I always talk to people about are Chinese Democracy and the self-titled Motley Crue album. And every person that I talk to and is like, I don't like that album, I'm like, what didn't you like about it? And then immediately it comes out that they didn't bother listening to it. And it's like, well, please, by all means, continue speaking on something.
Hey, do you like jelly beans?
I don't. No.
Why?
Because I've never. because I don't like the way they look.
Just that was totally off topic. I'm so sorry.
Here's my thing, though. Do you ever hear me going on a crusade against jelly beans?
I don't know what you do on the internet.
You see my Jelly Bean Weekly put out an article. So
you follow Jelly Bellies on Facebook and you just spam all their things.
Just to troll them. Just to troll them.
Oh my God, we're so far off topic.
That's the first time in a while we've done that.
Oh boy.
What's funny though is I told you guys I was hoping to get through like June-ish, and we're like coming up on May. So we know.
That's when I turned 5.
All right. Well, spoilers. So we talk about diversity in 91 and how everyone acts like it didn't happen. Okay, I'm going to read you, and we'll go back and talk about these as much as you want, but I'm going to read you the albums that came out in this order on April 16th, April 30th, May 14th, and May 20th. Temple of the Dogs self-titled album came out. Mm-hmm. So this is pre-Pearl Jam and pre-Soundgarden blowing up. You have this tribute to Andy Wood coming out with the two members of Soundgarden and Pearl Jam. Mm-hmm. So you have that Boyz II Men's first album, Cooley High Harmony. Mm-hmm. So again, no diversity in 91. Ice-T, Original Gangster, which to this day is one of my favorite rap albums of all time. And that was really the first album where I was like, oh, whoa, there is some stuff going on in the world I didn't know about. Primus, Sailing the Seas of Cheese, which Primus, by the look on Michelle's face, is either something she's never heard of or doesn't like at all.
No, that's neither. That was not for the. That was not what caused the look. What was the name of that?
Sailing the Seas of Cheese.
That's what I thought you said.
Yeah, I saw Primus on that tour actually, and but completely different. Like if you think R.E.M's different than hair metal, like Primus was over on like Pluto making music, completely different stuff.
Are they still a band?
Primus, yeah, very much so. I mean, Les Claypool's in like 50 bands, but Primus is one of them. But then Smashing Pumpkins, Gish, which is their second record, and right before Siamese Dream came out, which is the one that completely blew them up.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, how they got to open for GNR on the Use Your Illusion tour, just touring on Gish is beyond me, but I got to see it, so that was fun.
That's cool.
And then Seal's first album came out, and then
that Christopher Moreau's on it?
Yes. He was on the Batman soundtrack on his first album. No, Crazy was his first single. And no, not Gnarls Barkley, Crazy. We're never going to survive unless we get a little. No. Okay.
You've absolutely heard that song. They put it in the grocery store.
Yeah. Yeah, Michelle. So anyways,
that's where I get all my music from.
Rounding out May was NWA's last album, which this is going to sound so dumb for me to say, but it's how I have to say it. It was N-Words for Life.
Yes.
So it was very much not called N-Words for Life.
I actually looked that up and I was like, I wonder if Russ is going to mention this because
but on the record, I think on the record cover it was printed backwards. I think.
Who does that stand up or is like, I don't know, say it and see what happens?
Michael Che. White people are always asking me if they can say the N-word. I'm like, I don't know. Give it a shot and see what happens. But anyways, so listen to that stretch of diversity alone in the end of April and May. So now, and again, be me in 1991 being like, what, why is all this happening? You know, like, I mean, what an amazing year. Now, I'm not even going to be that guy and be like, oh, I was on Temple of the Dog. Nobody knew who Temple of the Dog was then. And anybody who tells you that they knew who Temple of the Dog was and they don't live in Seattle is lying to you. Like, no one was on Pearl Jam yet. Nobody was on Soundgarden yet. Maybe the guys working at the record store knew about Mother Love Bone, which would have put them up on the tribute to Andy Wood, right? But like, people now will be like, oh yeah, I was there buying a Temple. No, you did not know what Temple of the Dog was till the middle of 92.
I still don't know what Temple of the Dog is.
I'm not going to sing it, but Hunger Strike. You know the song Hunger
Just kidding,
Strike.
I do know.
So, but just that stretch alone, Temple of the Dog, Boyz II Men, Ice-T, Primus, Seal, Smashing Pumpkins, and NWA. Come on. What an end of April and May that is, right? And we're not even into summer or into the like, there were massive albums that were pushed back to 91 that were like supposed to be around this time. So they ended up getting pushed later in the year and made room for all of this to grow. Like, who knows if like Use Your Illusion had come out early in the year how it was supposed to, like, who knows if any of this stuff would have even got the exposure.
Right.
So really, Axl's doing everybody a favor.
He's so kind.
That's what a lot of people say. People say, and you referenced this last week, and I'll make reference to it again here. People often say that Roger Waters and Axl Rose are the two nicest guys in music.
For sure, yeah. They're so giving and they respect people's time.
And zero ego.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people say that. Speaking of which, years ago, somebody posted a candid photograph inside of Axl's house, and there was a crochet thing, or what is it? You do it. What is it? Needle point cross stitch. There was a cross stitch on the wall above Axl's shoulder that said, "Punctuality is the thief of time."
What?
Yeah, I was like, damn it, Axl. Like, in his house, he's like, put that up there so everyone knows.
Awesome.
Okay, so we're nearing like the midpoint of the year, and then, in my opinion, this is where things get serious. Like, we're going to have a cliffhanger because the whole second half of the year is amazing. So you come out of that, so what happens the week after NWA puts out their last record is Skid Row puts out their monster second record, Slave to the Grind. And this record was huge. Like, I mean, huge. And this is the thing, again, where people are like, oh, and then hair metal died. No. Every record store you went into, from floor to ceiling, was pictures of Slave to the Grind. And it was a massive, the first Skid Row album has some hard rock and stuff on it. It was very poppy. 18 in Life, I Remember You, that type of stuff. If you drop the needle on the second Skid Row record, you'll be like, no, I asked you to play Skid Row. Because it's like way harder, like way, way, way harder. There's a couple of ballads on there and whatnot, but by and large, it's way, way, way harder. And I don't think a lot of people were even ready for it when it happened. Like, a lot of the fans that came for that pop sound were like, well, this is too hard. And a lot of the Metallica fans, Anthrax, Megadeth, Metallica fans were like, I can't listen to Skid Row. You know what I mean? So it was kind of in a weird place for them to be. And that did way more damage, I think, to Skid Row than Nirvana releasing an album 4 months later. You know what I mean? I feel like there was one that I skipped. Oh, no, it's still coming up. But now this one is a huge hip-hop album for me, but I don't think this band gets anywhere near the recognition they deserve in the industry. Third Base, Derelicts of Dialogue came out next. Michelle, of course, knowing MC Serch very well from all of his work here in the Detroit area. MC Serch is actually a huge philanthropist. Yes, MC Serch, very huge philanthropist around Detroit. Like, he's done a lot of work in and around Detroit. He was on one of the stations as a DJ here, like a morning guy for a long time too. But him and DJ Prince Paul and Pete Nice. Pete Nice. So you have three just awesome. And again, this is another thing where you hear, when Eminem came out, people were like, finally, a good white rapper. Third Base cleared its throat just now. Like, there were a lot of great rappers with low melatonin counts who were way great. It's just because Vanilla Ice had the big, huge thing doesn't mean everyone played at that level. Did you get into Third Base a lot when you were younger, or have you not really dabbled in it much?
No, only now getting older and listening to stuff from back in the day. But when I was younger, I didn't listen to.
And you liked skits, like Michelle doesn't. You like skits, okay, dude. I'll tell you this much: the Chronic didn't come out for like a year after this. I know Dre had a copy of this record because there's some great skits on this album. But right again in the middle of the year, you have Skid Row puts out their second record, which is way more metal, and then all of a sudden Third Base just puts out this amazing piece of hip hop that, and the year already had the second NWA, or the last NWA record, and Ice-T's arguably his masterpiece, So it's like this year is great for no matter what type of music you like. So we will
I don't hear any emo.
Yeah, that's because this is when the world was a much improved place and emo didn't exist yet. There was no one just staring at their shoes complaining about their allowance. So
that's what I want to hear.
Oh, I'm aware. Yeah, you're going to need to wait another 10 years or so after this to get into what you're
then that's when I begin to thrive.
Right. That's when you really
That's when I come alive.
So we will wrap up the discussion with two big records that came out in June. And they both came out in the last week of June, second and last week of June. And then we will take this into two parts. And then
you'll be 16.
It's almost going to have to be, it's almost going to have to be 3 parts, damn it, because the whole second half of the year is as good or better than this. But anyways, so you have Anthrax put out Attack of the Killer Bees, which is just like I'm using Dr. Evil quotes, like a hits package-ish and B-sides and stuff, but it brought us Anthrax's cover of Bring the Noise with Public Enemy. So there were a lot of people who were really open to that type of collaboration because of the success of Walk This Way. And then you had Living Colour and Faith No More come along to like continue that sound. And then Anthrax was like, and now we bring it to the masses, and everybody couldn't believe how good that was. And then one of Michelle's all-time favorite bands rounded out the first half of the year with Van Halen putting out For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, which this is another one that like when it came out, Van Halen fans all ran to buy it, and Pound Cake was a big hit, but like that, they toured on that record for like 4 years, man. Like it just kept going, I mean, not as much as Metallica. Metallica toured. I've told you this many times, but the last time I saw Metallica on the Black Album tour, it was called the Nowhere Else to Fucking Roam tour because they had just been everywhere 4 and 5 times. But Van Halen toured on that album for 91, 92, 93, maybe even early 94, and it was just, I mean, when you think about it, it led with Pound Cake, which is, innuendo type song, right? But then you have Top of the World, and then probably the biggest hit off of it was Right Now, which still, that's another one here everywhere still today. So I kind of knew going into this was going to have to be 2 parts, and boy howdy, is it going to be 2 parts. But that's just the first half of 91.
Yeah,
man.
that's a lot, man.
Like, we haven't even got into the summer releases, when everything big that was pushed back from the early part of the year into the Christmas releases and all that stuff. I mean, everything that came out for the rest of the year. Our whole next episode could be me just listing off the albums and you guys going, wow.
I also I think I have a couple honorable mentions that you did that aren't even on your list.
First half of the year?
No, latter half of the year, yeah.
Okay. Well, another cliffhanger for next week. Even I'm on the edge of my seat now.
So I'll just continue to be surprised.
Next week's going to be a lot more of Michelle go, who?
No, next week it's an album review.
No, next week is part 2 of the episode that we're doing part 1 of right now.
I thought we were doing an album review.
Next week is part 2 of the episode you're in. Right, you're in season 4 in part 1 of our 1991 series.
But I thought part 2.
This is not a Quentin Tarantino movie. We're not going to put something else in the middle and then show people the end.
If you guys are just now tuning in, Michelle just got here. So.
We mean for the whole show, ever.
She just got here and realized that she's on a podcast.
So to recap and I was going to say for the listeners, but for Michelle and the listeners, next week we're going to have part 2 of our review of 1991. We're going to talk about albums and artists from July to December of 1991. And right before we went on air, I was telling you guys there's a band that got in a release on December 31st, which is great. So anyways, we're going to talk about that next week. And then, hold on to your seat, Michelle, the week after that, we're going to do our album review series. And when we do that, it is going to be the first album in our crowdsourced series of albums.
And then another episode, and then I get to pick
And then you get to make us listen to the Black Parade. So like we always say about this time, without music, life would be a mistake. Bye.
Bye. Podcast is hosted by Russ Robinson, Kyle Wimple, and Michelle Koselecki. Produced and edited by Russ Robinson. Intro and outro music composed by Chris Kimmel. Opening credits read by Stacey Robinson. Recorded with a Rode Podcaster Pro and Rode Pod mics.